Great. Thank you so much, Andrea. And it's great to see so many people here tonight on this call. Thanks for everybody for tuning in, because tonight is all about you and how we can support you. It's so important that we engage as many league members as possible this election season. The league can make a huge difference in North Carolina. Our nonpartisan status and voter information give us credibility, and with almost 2,000 members across the state with your own networks of influence, we are a force to be reckoned with. And we have lots of work to do over the next 60 days. And our job is to make that as easy as we can for you to get engaged. I know you've heard a lot from the State League this election season. Your inboxes have probably been overflowing. And that's mainly for two reasons. First is that our role as a nonpartisan organization empowering voters could not be more important than it is this year. And second, there's a lot of mis and disinformation out there, and even some bad actors that would try to discourage or confuse voters. So our role and our unified voice, speaking with one consistent message statewide, is incredibly important this year. The concept of one league, from our grassroots to our state organization to our national organization, is powered up and ready to defend democracy. We derive much strength from our grassroots at the local level, from the state, and from our national organization, all working together to empower voters. And that's why we're so happy to have tonight with us our LWVUS president and our CEO, who will join us tonight to give us a few thoughts. Diana Nguyen is North Carolina's own. She was president of LWV Wake County before joining LWVUS, the LWVUS board, in 2022. She was elected president at this year's convention in June, and we are thrilled that she is with us this evening to talk a little bit about the power of grassroots action. I'll turn it over to Diana.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. It is always a pleasure to be with my fellow North Carolina League members, even though it's virtual. I am so impressed by the number of people who are logging on this evening. That's very exciting. I'm going to be relatively brief. I want to thank you for the work you're doing, and then I'll talk a little bit about the power of our grassroots work and what that potential is. You know, I know how busy you are leading up to this election. I also know that you're going to stay busy once the polls open and even after the election. I know you've been registering voters. I know you've been engaged in a lot of get out the vote efforts, whether it's postcarding or tabling at events or in important places in your community, or leveraging your social media accounts. And I know you're doing that, and you're doing it really well, because I follow all of the North Carolina League social media accounts, and I'm seeing really great things come out. You know, registering voters and encouraging them to get out and vote is critical work. And there are a lot of organizations that do some of that work, but we're different than most of those organizations that go out and register voters and tell them to go vote. We're different in a couple ways. One, it is our mission to empower voters. So we don't just register them and tell them to go vote. We provide them with critical information that they need in order to prepare to go vote. And we do that in a lot of ways. And you all have been working on that. You've been putting that together on your websites. I know the state of North Carolina has done a couple great videos, and you all have done similar things. And of course, there's vote411.org. And you all have been working really hard on that. And I know some of you are still working on it to get those candidates to get their information up on Vote411 before the polls open. And the second way we are different from those other organizations is we are nonpartisan. So we provide all that information in a nonpartisan way. You know, our polling shows that we are one of the most trusted voices in politics. So when you, as a league volunteer, go out and you provide important information on behalf of the league, it matters to the people that you encounter. They know that they can trust what they are hearing and what they're receiving from you. Now, of course, your work isn't open when the polls open. You'll continue to encourage people to get out to vote. You'll continue to direct them to Vote 411 and your other sources of information. I also know that many of my fellow North Carolina League members will be working the polls as poll workers on behalf of their county boards of elections. And that is such critical work to have people who understand the process and are willing to engage in that work in an unbiased manner. That is so important, especially today. And the work is not over when the polls close, right? I hope that many of you will be at your County Board of Elections canvas meeting so you can watch that process and make sure that everything's happening properly and in a transparent manner. I've been thinking a lot lately about the power of the grassroots because I think that that is the heart of our organization. And I happened to run across an article very recently. The Carnegie Endowment for International Peace published an article that looked at women's engagement in pro-democracy movements around the world. And the article, of course, points out that there's been an erosion in old and new democracies in every region of the world, including the United States. And you all know this. I think it's part of the reason that you're so engaged and you're committed to making sure that people get out and vote and that they have accurate information. However, the article points out that women, including in the US, have been at the forefront of pro-democracy movements. And that's been historically true in the United States. And more specifically, what the article's analysis found is that women play a critical role in driving pro-democratic mobilization in the United States, in no small part due to their grassroots activities. And that is primarily what the League is engaged in, grassroots activities that are done for the most part by volunteers. Now, most of our members are women, so I thought that this article's analysis was pretty on point. But of course, we appreciate all of our members and what they do for the League, regardless of gender. League members are pros. We are pros at grassroots work. And we've been doing it for over 100 years. So the work that we do, particularly around election season, I think that we know that work and we do that work as well, if not better, than any other organization out there, which is why we are trusted by voters. So I cannot overstate the importance of the work that you are doing now and the work that you're going to do, particularly in this election season at this point in our nation's history. So I want to thank all of you for all the work that you are doing and the work that you're going to be doing this election year. I know it's really important. I hope to be out there working with you on some of these activities over the next couple of months, and I hope to see some of you while I'm there. I'm now going to turn it back, I think, to Jennifer. Is that right? And
Yep.
then you'll introduce our next speaker. And of course, because I'm a North Carolina League member, I will be on this entire call listening in to the work that we have to do ahead of us. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Diana. That's fantastic. And North Carolina is a women majority state. So the power of women is significant here. So we're ready to get mobilized and get every woman out there doing what they can do to help this election. Selena Stewart joined League of Women Voters in 2018 as Director of Advocacy and Litigation. She served as lead lobbyist and worked to implement the national agenda. She became chief counsel in 2020 and was named CEO this summer. So excited. And we're so excited that Selena is joining us tonight to share the national perspective and how LWVUS can support our grassroots work. Selena?
Well, hello, fellow leaguers. How is everyone tonight? I hear like virtual cheering and screaming, so I will just I will just go with that. And speaking of that, like this is League Super Bowl, right? So this is the time that we shine and we come out and we do what we do, right? And so I feel like we know who the two teams are who are playing and what is our role, which is Diana spoke a lot about. And really our role falls into 4 buckets, and it has for a long time. So we are education, registration, mobilization, and protection. And during the election season, we really hit all 4 of those buckets in doing our work. So obviously the voter education and the registration that Diana talked about were really also mobilization and protection, because we know that there are lots of protective measures that have to be put in place to make sure the election runs smoothly. And one of those things I think that's really relevant to North Carolina is you all have a purge that was attempted, 250,000 people. And we know that things like the National Voter Registration Act prevents things like that, but that's a big part of our role. And I don't know if folks are aware, but the league for at least the last 12 years or so has been the chief defender of the National Voter Registration Act. Like that is what we have become known for because of our success in doing that. And so I think as we think about the election, the importance of speaking with one voice is critical. And the reason for that is when you look at the League of Women Voters, there's Dare County, there's all the counties across North Carolina, right? But to the public, they don't see the individual counties. They just see the League of Women Voters. And so understanding that we as local league members represent the whole organization and how we are showing up is so critical. And so I think that's why it's so important to partner with your state league in particular, because we are tapping our state leaders in particular to flow those resources down. And so let me talk a little bit about the resources that I see questions from Kate in the chat. Let me talk about some of the resources that we're talking about here, right? So we have Vote 411, which has already been mentioned, and that is the one-stop shop for folks who are trying to figure out if they're registered, they're still on the list, where to go, who's on their ballot, what these folks believe in, et cetera. But then we also have things like our election toolkit. And if we think about the election season as Super Bowl with the 2 teams, the roles we play differ. Like in some cases for those members, those of you on the call who participate in the actual administration of the election, you all are referees in some regards. And then we have folks who are spectators who are observing the election and seeing what issues are coming up and report that into your state. And then we report that into either the election protection or we file a lawsuit if that's helpful. And so the election toolkit, hopefully you all have already started to figure out like your communications protocol. I see Andrea, so hopefully I'm sure Sheryl has all the local league information, but as issues come up, we are really the eyes and ears of election on the ground. And so making sure that you have that information, that you know who to contact if things are coming up and how to communicate that is so, so important. So things like Vote 411, creating your election communication protocol, looking at the election toolkit. We also have an election series happening right now where we are really elevating those topics that leagues have cycle over cycle have asked for us to make sure we highlight, redo, and make sure we share that information. So I can drop that information in the chat, but please make sure you join those election series webinars, especially if you have questions, because whether you are new or seasoned, I say seasoned because I just don't like the word old, but I don't think anyone on here is a piece of chicken or anything, but we are seasoned members who are doing this work. And so whether you are, again, new or seasoned, we want to know what those resources are. So the league management website is a huge source of information for folks, all types of information. Please tap Jennifer if you have questions about where to find stuff, who will tap us. but also just plugging into the resources that we have now to help you all get through this election season, because we would not be who we are without each and every one of you. We cannot do it without you. It's a symbiotic relationship. So I just want to say thank you so much for the work that you all are already doing, that we're going to continue to do, and for really pulling out a successful election season. So I'm going to say congratulations in advance, because I know what we do and how we do. So I will leave it with that, and I will turn it back over to Jennifer. Thank you all so much for inviting me tonight.
Thank you so much, Selena. It's really great to see you, and very excited about your new role and working with you and Diana both in the future. You guys are fantastic. So couldn't be more excited about that. Thanks again. So as I said earlier, tonight is really about you, and we're going to talk, as Selena said, they have a toolkit at National that's fabulous, and we are developing a toolkit here for our members to use statewide. The toolkit is going to be valuable for you whether you have 5 minutes, 5 hours, or 5 weeks to contribute to election activities. This is going to be a no hold barred. Anyway, it's going to be a full steam ahead election time. So we're going to put our foot on the gas and make sure that everything we do is full of energy, and we are going to be exhausted by the day after election with all the activities that I know you all are already doing at the local level. In 2020, the voter turnout in North Carolina was 75%, which was a record. But that still meant that 1.8 million registered voters did not vote. We can help close that gap as members of the league. This toolkit that you're going to hear more about tonight can provide something for everybody. Maybe you will table at events, or maybe you'll only be able to send messages through your social media accounts, or you might be able to post on your local listserv or Nextdoor account. But all of the materials that we will be providing are available to you to use over the next 2 months to help with the election messaging. Citizens view the league as unbiased source of information. So we want people to know that the league is there on the ground providing trusted information. That's why it's really important that you use league branded tools from national or from the state, or things that you develop based on our messaging at the state level. We really want to elevate the league's profile in this important election and make sure that people know that the information they're getting is trustworthy, because that's what they will see when they see that league logo. Your point people on the ground will be your league voter services chairs. And if you do not have a voter services chairs, then work through your president, who will be able to help you allocate resources to a variety of different activities. It's all important information, and everything we do contributes to the success of this effort. It's a hyper-partisan environment right now, and our objective is to help every citizen vote. Being nonpartisan gives us added credibility and puts us above the partisan fray, and that really makes a difference. Now I'll turn it over to Marion Lewin, our Vice President and Voter Services Leader, to talk about our incredibly important vote411.org.
Hi, everybody. Before I get into what I want to say about Vote 411, I just want to mention a few things that Selena mentioned that have also kind of come up on the chat. The voter purge, a counter lawsuit is being filed probably tomorrow. We are going to support it. We are not going to be part of it because of just some logistical details that we couldn't name names. So the lawyers who are filing the lawsuit wanted to file it on behalf of individual plaintiffs and organizational plaintiffs, but we were just not able to identify people who were affected. We know that there are people that are affected, and we will be reaching out to the people who we know are affected and help them remedy the situation. The bigger issue is down the line as to how this is going to play out during the election cycle, which means once ballots start being cast and once ballots start being counted. And we'll talk about that later. The second issue that I've seen in the chat, there's a lot of different things going on in different states. And it's really, really important that we keep our focus laser driven on North Carolina law and North Carolina elections. Yes, we're worried about what's happening in Georgia. Yes, we're worried about what's happening in Michigan, but we can do something about what's happening in North Carolina, not that. And so we don't want to confuse people with issues that are not related to North Carolina. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about Vote 411 and how it's going to work this year and how critical it is. Number one, I want to say thank you to our teams of Vote 411 volunteers across the state. And I want to particularly thank Norma Hall and Ralph Hall and Julie Pepper, who have been spearheading and dealing with all the technical work that is required to make Vote 411 actually work when you and so that you can see anything when you go to the site. One of the most important thing you're going to need to do when you're talking to voters this year is have them check their voter registration. I think we've all been talking about that, how important not only registering voters is, but making sure that people who say, oh, I'm registered, that they are registered, that they are in the system, and that all their information is correct. And you can do that right on your first screen on Vote 411. Check your voter registration. Can we go back a little bit? Okay, never mind. All right, the second thing is when you hit check your voter registration, that will take you directly into the State Board of Election site so that you will see your voter registration, your address, all your jurisdictions, and all your polling places. So that when you're talking to people, that is really important. Then secondly, let's go, now we can go to the second one, which is the state one. You could scroll down a little bit further, and when you go to the North Carolina section, you will see everything you need to know about early voting, absentee voting. Everything is easy to find on the North Carolina section. It all links, everything links to the North State website. I mean, the North Carolina State Board of Elections website, so that it is absolutely official. There's no question that we are sharing anything that isn't absolutely correct. And so that the nice thing about accessing it through Vote 411 is that it's all in alphabetical order. A for absentee, E for early, V for voter ID. You can find the information that you need for the voter very easily, and they can find it on their phones. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is what everybody thinks when they think of Vote 411. is the candidate guide. And the way you would get your candidate guide is you enter your street, your city, and your zip code. You don't have to enter your name because your ballot is determined by your location, not by your name. So that makes it more comfortable for a lot of people to know that when they're getting their ballot, there's no personal information is being shared. Now, we hope that that these candidate guides will be available on September 13th. That's September 13th, which is a week and a half away. And that should be in plenty of time for people because absentee ballots are not being mailed out until September 6th. Takes a few days for them to go through the mail system and get delivered to voters. So voters who have their absentee ballots and want to look at the voter guide in order to determine learn about their candidates, they will have it right after they get their ballots in the mail. And I just want to also mention for all of you as league leaders, you're all league leaders, as soon as that is live and your Vote for 1-1 coordinator, your league coordinator will tell you that it is officially live. I want everybody to go in and look at their ballot. Because this is a computer system, it's a very complicated computer system, and it's not uncommon for there to be problems, meaning the wrong districts show up, the wrong ballots show up, the wrong candidates show up, and we can get that fixed, but we have to know about it. So go in and test it. Go in and test it as soon as it's live. Talk to your Vote for 1-1 coordinator. If you're having any difficulty or you're not finding what you think you should be finding, and we can get it fixed. And that's really all that I was going to talk about right now. So I'm going to kick it back over to Andrea.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Good evening. It's great to see you. My name is Andrea Cash. I have been working with the League for 5 years, with the State League on their communications. And I'm not full-time with the League, but I'm a contractor, and I've been really excited to work on this election toolkit that I'm about to unveil. We can drop this in the chat, but you can reach me by email if you have questions about this. My email is cash@lwvnc.org. So this toolkit I'm about to show you is wide-ranging, and I want to emphasize you can really tailor it to you. Think about how you communicate, how you interact with your community, play to your strengths. We are not asking anyone to be someone they're not. That would be a fool's errand. If you can reach 5 people over the next 9 weeks, we're 9 weeks from Election Day, that's great. That certainly beats 0. Do what you can. And in this toolkit, which I will show you in 1 second, you'll see something labeled. It'll be labeled, for example, as a social media graphic. And I just want to emphasize, yes, it can be a social media graphic. It can also be the framework of a one-on-one conversation you'll have with a neighbor. It can be a text you send to somebody you know. It can be something you put on your neighborhood listserv. It could be something you print and hang on your front door. So don't be limited by that label. A lot of us are really active online. Some of us are really active as people who walk around and talk to neighbors and walk the dog, you know? So the point is use this messaging and just commit to doing what you can to talk to people about voting deadlines, voting logistics like photo ID, voting the full ballot, checking voter registration, researching the candidates, all of it. It is September 3rd. The toolkit I'm about to show you, it will change as we get closer to the election. We're still developing materials, so I want to encourage you to check it often, and we will be sending the link out often so you have it handy, and it's front and center on the State League website, so it should be easy to find. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing these slides, and just bear with me 1 minute. I'm going to share my screen, share a browser here. and we'll take a look at it. Okay, hopefully you're seeing that. So this is a Google document, although it is accessible to everyone. I want to reiterate, you don't have to have Google to get on here. It's essentially full of links. You'll see hyperlinks, so you can download images, access videos on YouTube. You can copy and paste sample language. I'm just going to kind of scroll down and let you peruse a bit. Things are organized with a header. And over here on the left, that's kind of your table of contents if you want to find something faster. So let me go back up and say you're curious about these letters to the editor suggested messaging. You simply click. Hopefully this is going to work. I'm doing my best modeling here of the toolkit. And then that's going to open another document. So it's a lot of kind of nesting, right? That's going to open another document. And now we have these letter to the editor topics, it's sorted by topic, and you could copy and paste this, and then you could, rewrite it and make it your own, but it gets some key points across. So we have, bring your ID with you. We have, slow to load because I'm on the Zoom, but urge people to do the great work of being a poll worker, utilize Vote 411. So let me go back to the toolkit. So if you look here, for example, at social media election facts, it shows you the visual, and then there's a link to download the visual. So this is kind of a preview, and then you can go here and you can download the visual. You can say, I want that one, and you can go here and it opens it. And then you can go to this download button, the arrow pointing down. And then below that, there's some sample text. So imagine I want to put this on my Facebook page. Here's my graphic I can download, and then sample text. A lot of the down ballot races don't get nearly as much attention, but they really matter, and I could copy and paste this and kind of make this my own. So again, we're trying to make it really easy. What can you do in 5 minutes? Even if you just have 5 minutes a week. And like I said, it's for social media, but it could also be an email you send. It could be something in your email signature. It could be something that you print out and hand out. We're covering a lot of ground in this toolkit. We want people to know voting dates. We want them to know the incredible resource that is Vote 411. We want to encourage them to attend their county board of election meetings. We want to encourage them to sign up to be a poll worker. If I keep scrolling, here's information about your sample ballot. We're promoting this. We have a voting questions email address, and we love to get voting questions, and we will answer them. And then that really helps us understand what we need to message to other people, because if one person has the question, then that means other people have the question. We want to really create a culture around voting and understanding elections. And so along those lines, by the way, we would love for you all could be part of this content. So for example, down here, these are some voting stories from league members. This is an experience that happened to Janet from Henderson County. Maybe she's on the call when she was a poll worker. And here's a story from Vicky in Piedmont Triad about how she goes and votes a lot of the times with her 2 adult sons. And so if you want to be part of this, if you want to share your voting story, we would love for you to do that. If you want to share, how rewarding you find it to be a poll worker. This is a story about someone, Pat from ODC was 3 years old, and she remembers going with her grandparents to go vote. So we would love for you all to be a part of this content as well. So again, I just want to reiterate, it's a lot to go through, but I do hope you'll take a look and make it your own. Don't be overwhelmed by it. Hopefully you see it as just kind of the land of opportunity of there's a lot you can do in the next 62 or so days. Can you talk to 2 people a day? Can you talk to 2 people a week? Can you reach 200 people a week with your kind of online reach? Brainstorm your plan and think about ways you can be a resource to the community. And there's a lot more to go through here, so I encourage y'all to do that. But for right now, I'm going to get back to our slides, and I am going to turn things over to Reagan, who's a member of the state board.
Hi, everyone. My name's Reagan Adettle, and I'm part of the state board. And before I go into my spiel, let me tell you that I offered to try and navigate Andrea's toolkit as a dinosaur with doing things online, and it is an incredibly easy toolkit to use. I was able to do all sorts of stuff, so I really think this is a great toolkit and everyone can use it. On that note, I will go back to my spiel, which I work primarily with Marion in the voter engagement space. And I know it's been mentioned several times that we have tried to develop messaging, one league, one message. And in that, LWVNC has been very lucky to be able to supply leagues with messaging cards. One of our main is vote and make sure your vote counts. Surrounded or started by, bring your ID. Make sure everyone brings their ID. So we have been able to supply, as you see, table cards. Those are league specific. So when you get those, they reference your local league. Other things that we are able to supply, or we now have some table cards that are both in English and Spanish, get the vote out. We have postcards that if you are going to be doing postcarding, we have postcards that you can order. And these are all supplied by LWVNC. You don't have to pay for these. We have door hangers. Some of the fun things that we have are wristbands, hand fans, been very popular this summer. And then thank you, Cheryl Tung, if you're on here, for showing us the fun Swifty bracelets that are good to hand out. So we are able to supply these up through the end of the election. And we encourage you, if you think you need them, to talk to your voter service chair or chairs, who's ever ordering, and you can talk to them, and then they can reach out to me. We'll drop my email in the chat, and I will send the merchandise order form. Another thing that we wanted to talk about real quickly is our voter collaboration group. And for those of you that are new to the league, this may be a great way to learn about what we're doing in the voter engagement space. We meet monthly, typically the first Monday of every month from 7 to 8, but we've moved it this month. So our next meeting is September 9th from 7 to 8. And we talk about things that are working, things that are not working, kind of collaborate, share across the state. We also, hosted the North Carolina State Board of Elections voter service training. We do talk about County Board of Elections monitoring and election law changes. So it's kind of a place that you can learn what we're doing across the state, different leagues and the state league. So if you're interested in joining, please shoot me an email and I will definitely add you to the list. And I just wanted to quickly add a note. I saw someone in the chat ask if there's any messaging for postcards. And if you are interested, we do have some, about 5 or 6 suggested messages that leagues can write on postcards. So again, just shoot me an email and we can send that out to you. So if, hope to see you in voter collaboration. And I am going to pop this now. Wait, I want to use a term I've heard a lot. I'm going to popcorn it back to Marion.
Hi, hi everyone again. I'm going to talk a little bit about our CBOE monitoring project. And you heard that Selena talk about that one of the pillars of our voting outreach is election protection. CBOE monitoring is our signature project on the election protection front. We are, you guys who are all doing those monitoring, who are going to your every single CBOE meeting and are definitely filing reports. You are the early warning system that's going to help us protect our votes and protect the election in November. You are going to find out by going to these meetings and filing the reports, you are going to hear first about attempts to challenge voters, challenge ballots, perhaps overturn the election, deal with certification issues. You are going to know about that first. And if you tell us about it, we are the early warning system for the entire voter advocacy, voter outreach network across the state. So I can't emphasize how important what those going to those meetings on a regular basis, especially starting October 1st, because October 1st is when they are going to start counting the absentee ballots. And so finding out how they're doing that is going to be incredibly important. So we did a training on what is a CBOE, how does it work, what are you going to learn when you go to a county board of elections meeting. That that's posted on the website. You can watch that recording. We have the slides that were used for that training. You can review them. I am so open to any questions. If you see something, hear something, say something, send me an email. I will absolutely hunt it down and find out what's going on. And so I just can't emphasize how important this project is on the election protection front. So I think, I don't know who I'm sending it to next. The next steps.
Jennifer Rubin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marion. And I want to just say thank you to the whole team, to Marion, to Reagan, to Ralph and Norma Hall that are working on Vote 411 and have been just instrumental in making that happen every year. And to Andrea and Sarah Basinger on the board as well. It's a great team and everybody's put in so much work on these materials and on putting together this infrastructure that we hope will help us this election season. So I really want to extend a huge thank you to everyone who's been working so hard. And I know all of you are also working hard on activities at the local level. So it's all cumulative and it's all so important. So really appreciate everything. As Andrea said, the toolkit will evolve and so it will change over time. So please check back and look at it. There are also things, so we have a new voting questions at lwvnc.org. So a email address for people to ask questions about voting. So you'll see all of that when you get in and start playing around with the toolkit. And we hope that that you'll do that really soon. We will be sending out a follow-up email recapping everything from tonight because a lot of folks couldn't join us. So we'll be doing that tomorrow. And we hope that you'll be able to, as I said, to get in and use the toolkit and be able to use LWV branded messaging so that we accomplish a lot of things, empowering voters and also making people aware that the League is out there doing all we can to make sure that every person's vote counts. So with that, I think we're ready to, I believe we're going to stop the recording and open up the meeting to the Q&A. And I think Reagan is kind of been monitoring the Q&A, the chat for questions. And